So with that last quote from Chesterton, there are people who, of course, disagree with that, and like vocally, I've seen online even. And obviously, there are even denominations of Christians who don't believe in partaking in anything, and they're purists. They think in that, even in that quote, if we say that alcohol and tobacco are not worth it because they do pose a risk. They pose a physical and a spiritual risk. And obviously, I think as Catholics, we know that these things need to be in moderation. In the faith gives us a good gives us good guidelines on how to do that. So I thought we could kind of offer a response to that, and I think if history wasn't enough to say, look, Christ's church has had this constant relationship with it. There is something good about it. Okay, so now what's good about it? So can we focus first on the physical health? That could be like reduction of stress or even anything else. I know there's so many articles that are always coming out, and they're always contradicting themselves. Like I see it about coffee and everything. It's like, this is gonna kill you, and the next one's like, this help you live 10 years longer. So anything that it's a health benefit, or at least that it's not inherently a health risk.
Yeah, well, I won't say anything about health benefit in case the FDA comes after me or whatever, because like you said, I mean, there's studies saying this and that. Um, yeah, I mean, I think beer, and I know there's differences with wine, and sometimes you'll see stuff with wine and heart health and other things. Um, but with beer, I would say, yeah, in moderation. It's really, it's almost like a liquid bread in a way. So certainly it can be a good
They
source
used to
of
call it that, right? Didn't back sometime in the past they would, when they were fasting, and they would drink beer with their meal. I don't know if it was the monks or if it was just Catholics.
yeah. Well, so let me tell you that real quick, since we're on the history. So there's the Franciscan monks in Bavaria. They had like, it was like a doppelbock is what they brewed for Lent, and they pretty much had that just for Lent. Like they just had beer, uh, and as a
Was this in the
replacement for
past,
any
or
any other
is this
food
present still?
in
Okay.
the past. In the past, so I think maybe the 15th century or something like that,
Okay.
and uh, the Pope got wind of it at the time, and so the Pope said, you know, send me a barrel. I want to taste it. And actually, the barrel went bad as it was going over the Alps on the journey. And by the time we got to the Pope, he had it and it was horrible. And he was like, have as much as you want all Lent. Like, this is a penance to have. Please have whatever you want. So, like, so that monk, those Franciscans, like, and I don't know how long it went on, but they would just have the Doppelbock for Lent. So it is like a liquid bread. I know a friend who does long distance running, and he has beer afterwards, and he's like, oh, it's great, for caloric intake, and so yeah, from that standpoint, it can be good, in moderation, but also I think just from like the alcohol is a good social lubricant, I would say. And so, from that standpoint, just on the social side of things, being able to have a glass of wine or a glass of beer with family, with friends, it really helps to help loosen things up a little bit and facilitate some really great conversations. So I think from a social side of things, in moderation, it can be very helpful.
I have to say one more historical thing. I remember hearing this. This might have been, my wife might have told me this too, that um, at some point in the past, somewhere in the world, I don't know the details, but they drink beer, um, more than water because the beer was they knew that it was safe to drink. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. And that would be the case certainly in Europe in medieval period. So if you know the town or the community had the monastery and the monks brewed the beer, yeah, it would be safer. So children would, you know, small children even would drink beer, and you know it's a much lower percentage. You know, might be like 2 or 3% or whatever. But basically, when it goes through that process, I mean the beer is, I mean, it's fine to drink in many cases, was a lot healthier, a lot healthier for people than, you know, the water, which could be contaminated. So yeah, that was quite common back then, and I think in Europe, for those who go, you do see that there's a different relationship, and probably, you know, stemming over the years. They didn't have the Puritan influence that we have here, where it's very
It's a
common
good
to
point.
see even like, you know, teenagers or whatever having wine with a meal or a beer or something like that, and it's not out of the ordinary. And they're not going out and getting drunk like most, you know, like when you think of like Americans, you think, oh, high schoolers, college students going out and going crazy. But I think that relationship with alcohol and that culture is a lot healthier, in that it's introduced younger. I know it's like an anathema thing to say in America, but you know, under the direction of parents, like introduced in moderation early, and it doesn't become this thing, kind of this taboo thing, which I think it is here, right? And people think, oh, I gotta have access to it now and go crazy. And if it's something you've had, you know, as a teenager before, and just kind of a normal part of society, healthy society, it's not a taboo thing. And so people don't feel the need, you know, regularly, you know, when they're of that age, especially, to go crazy with things. So anyway, sorry, Nick, I got off on a tangent there.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a huge part of it is in Europe that it's, you know, I've spoken to I have a friend who's from overseas, and she's like, it, yeah, alcohol is just not a big deal. You know, we don't
Yeah.
go crazy. It's not this like hidden treasure that you find when you open your, you know, your friend's father's like liquor box and you're like looking in it. It's like, it's not even that I think they do have a more reverence for it than we do, but it's also just, I think, not that, you know, they just know how to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um, and they didn't have the influences that we had in America. That's a big point.
exactly.
And ironically, you know, that influence kind of has worked against the culture, because now it is the opposite of pure. Its consumption is incredibly abused. So, interesting. Um, I also thought, you know, okay, you can't say health benefits, so I'll say the one that you alluded to, or didn't allude to. Wink. But it's lower stress. Like stress is the killer. Stress leads to cancer and all kinds of things. And if you can do it in moderation, and you do it in fellowship, or you do it in leisure, that's huge. It's huge. And there's a reason why that quote is so, everybody loves that quote from Chesterton, because like tobacco and alcohol are demonized. Um, I think they or perverted by the world, and I think it's because that they can be incredible aids in our in leisure. I actually just think you could even just say that.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it, as well as liking it and subscribing if you'd like to hear more conversations like this. And then also supporting the show so that it can continue to be made. Thank you so much. God bless.